觀眾喎，有啊，冇講嘢啫，有觀眾。唔關事，唔關事。嗰個咩都係尋日出啫嘛，對前日出啫嘛，嗰個 WhatsApp。
但係我之前唔係拍嚟嘅，我唔知啊。
我見到你個名係紅色字嘅，你係咪可能有人改動？
我唔係之前報㗎。
係咯，你應該臨尾先俾人，即係有啲人唔得閒，跟住就揾你咩？
俾人徵召。
係啊，我之前報㗎。咪 William 叫我報㗎嘛。如果聽日唔使旅慶，我哋都會。
你聽日旅慶？
係啊，叫做咯。而家。
我記得你哋之前旅慶係12月㗎。
其實點講呢？11月18就正式嗰日，跟住有時10月，有時11月18。係啊，就正式嗰一日，但係有時就差唔多12月，有時11月，一時時。
我有 fix ID 嘅。19268.1.230。啱啊！啱。
我嗰日係生日。
係咪12月10？12月10啊
？ENS 4個8。8.8.8。
12月8號我哋就去翻南丫島嗰度咯。上次探路咧係咩？佢又叫咗你去，即係8號。
係。
咁喺嗰度輸晒。
係啊。我哋喺個沙灘諗住執完啲垃圾，跟住就喺嗰度宣誓啦。
去執沙。
你見得個沙灘好多垃圾嘅。
你哋諗住做？
我哋諗住咁咯，係啊。
喂，但係你知唔知有一個叫海港清潔活動？
係啊。幾時啊？
不過 WiFi 提翻嚟，我哋轉咗啲 level 嘅 setting，咁你而家用到，但係你用完之後咧，你記得同我哋講翻先，我哋幫你 set 翻轉頭。如果唔係，你就上唔到網㗎啦。OK，thank you。
海港組織咧，你做嗰啲搞嗰啲清潔沙灘咧，你同佢講咧，跟住佢可以幫你做一啲即係派啲手套啊、垃圾袋嗰啲俾你咧。
就唔使再。
跟住聯絡翻嗰啲康文署嗰邊咧，幫你收翻啲垃圾咧，咁就會好啲咯。
哦。
棘實咗，扯住咗條褲，唔好意思，掹少少。
小心啲啊！好危險啊！個半鐘唔使叉住。
震都冇震。
Okay, it's time. Shall we? So first of all, thank you for joining us in this session. I will briefly introduce you the people that are here in this panel a bit later. So let's see if this works. Excellent. So during the next 90 minutes, we will be hoping to stimulate a bit your thoughts as well. We would like to share with you some of the things we have prepared, but also we're counting on your own contribution to the session as well. So the idea here was to reflect a bit on this evolution. Basically what Chris introduced in the morning helped us a lot, and actually he spoke about some of the things that we are wanting to cover, which is fine. But the idea was trying to reflect on the evolution that we have had, or not, between the foundation, let's say, of the movement and the situation that we have now, and if we have adjusted or not some of the things that we find as fundamental. So just basically what we would like to do during this period is, first of all, to just to remind us, because most of us are experienced scouters, to remind us some of these fundamentals of scouting and our particular educational systems. We have a particular methods. That's what we are going to review. Some of the challenges that we have now, social and others, that may impact what we do. And also present you some of the cases. That's why these friends are here for as well. Some of the cases that some associations have used, some of the things that some associations have used to try to adapt a bit more some of our fundamentals to the changes that have been happening in the last years. Well, that's pretty much the main objectives. And to introduce you, so we asked some of the people from different associations to help us to present some of their cases. So Mari Nakano, you probably know her. She's a member of the World Scout Committee, member of the National Board of the Scout Association of Japan. Apparently she still has time to be advisor to a rover crew, which I find amazing. And she's also the chairman of the next World Scout Jamboree. So I'm not sure if she sleeps, but anyway. Elena from Romania, she's National Program Commissioner. Effendi from Singapore is the executive director of the organization. And Mary just ran away from the camera. Are you? But we won't be on TV now. Mary from Ireland, she's part of the training review steering committee. Again, Rover Scout in the Rover Scout team and Venture Scout leader. It's amazing. All these salaries that these people have with different. So these are the people here. Besides these four members of the panel, we still have to help us Josephine, which is the person that will gather some of the questions or comments that might arrive online. Marina, which is the rapporteur of this session, and
Owen. My name's Owen.
Okay. So that's about it. That's all of it. And myself. I'm yes, I'm here as well. I'm João, member of the World Scout Committee in charge of educational methods. So our intention, the flow of this panel will go like this. That's our idea. Start by revisiting Scouting then, a visit to the past, looking into the past. Then revisit a bit the fact that the world is changing and try to review a bit what's happening in the last years, just for us to understand how fast the change has been. Then we'll go to Scouting today, and then which means that we'll have the presentations of our guests, and then some times of discussion. And 2 times of discussion. In between them, I will just show you some of the, according to some people, what might be future trends, and we might have this exercise of imagining what should we change in our way of doing things according to these future trends that we can identify now. So that's pretty much how we see it. Right. So, Scouting then. Just a short input. How was? Well, I'm sure you are aware that Scouting was born in the UK, so maybe it would be useful to trying to see how the world was, or the UK was on the 1900s. I'm sure we also know from studying Baden-Powell's story and how he came up with this idea of creating a new organization or movement more. That one of his concerns was the fact that youth was, well, we know that he was a military, and of course he was very concerned, or he was concerned about the fact that some of the young people were not possibly fit for that particular purpose that that he had about the military condition, let's say. So he was concerned about the well-being of the nation and of the young people. And according to some reports, it seems that by then only 2 out of 9 young people were fit for that particular purpose. So there was this concern about their mental and physical well-being. So Baden-Powell was had that concern about the physical deterioration and moral degeneracy, which is quite impressive words. And he spoke about that a number of times. So basically, what I learned when I was a scout about scouting is concerned was about he was on seeing young people on the streets and saying that or seeing that they were not fit or they were just hanging there, and then he got this idea that we should maybe have something that we could help these people to be more active and more contributing more for our society. So that was mainly the background by then. And if we go back to the initial scripts, let's say, of Baden-Powell, you probably have read this like 100 times. But for him, it was quite clear that this was a game. I think, personally, I found useful now and then to just to revisit these things, because it was, sometimes we just get so much into different other concerns that we just lose track of what was the initial intention. And this definition that you probably have read already, I think it's worth revisiting it. So it's a game. I think the word game is quite interesting here. The fact that it is a game is not as simple as that or as complicated as that. For boys, of course, you'll see afterwards that he also, well, he also mentioned girls in other editions of this book. So don't be too offended. And basically this idea that elder brothers can provide support to younger ones. So it's not exactly, as we were commenting in the morning, not exactly adults running the show, or shouldn't be. Should be some of the more experienced or a bit older trying to support the other ones. So they give there an healthy environment, and I particularly would like to underline this because that's something very close to my heart now, the fact that we are getting this idea of creating a learning environment. It's not necessarily to say that this should be the program, but to create something which is not only activities, is the places where people meet, is the places where people go to camping. So it's the environment itself, which includes people, sites, venues, relations, etc. So it's not, although we might think that it is new, it's not exactly new. So, and again, the citizenship idea coming up. And you probably also have seen, for him, it was quite straightforward. He had this idea of a training scheme for citizenship, period. So no big educational reflections, at least showing it on the books. Of course, we know that he had a lot of reflections on what scouting could be, or more educational ones. But on this table, which I really like, and I show it quite a lot, it was quite straightforward. He had 4 big areas to development. He identified the qualities of that young people were supposed to develop, and then he listed the things, the activities, and the elements of that environment that I was talking about that would contribute to develop those characteristics, let's say. So I don't know, swimming, games, appreciation of nature, court of honor, team games, scout law, life-saving, woodcraft. So he had sort of a shopping list of things that should be present around, and by the simple fact that people would use them, that would guarantee that, there will be more probabilities that young people would develop as he would like to. So he has these 4 main areas, if you remember: character, health and strength, and craft and skill, and service to others. And for him it was this, to help young people to get more active. Looks simple, right? It's not necessarily the same line of thought that we have now. Now let's see if this works. Nope. Can you just click on it? You need to click. It's just a very short one. Ah, okay. That's the... yeah. So that was scouting by then. It's not exactly how it is now, even if I think we could still find some scouts dressing more or less like that. No critics here, just saying. And now that we have shown that movie, I just found when I was reading some things for this session, this interesting statement from BP himself about movies, using movies and so on. It's interesting that he says that one of the powerful temptations is that of motion pictures. It's extraordinary, isn't it? How motion pictures can be evil. But it's quite interesting. But interestingly enough, he said after that one of the things which should be very difficult to stop, he says that it's very difficult to stop, which means that the point rather is how to utilize films to the best advantage for our ends. And I'm connecting this with what we heard in the morning about Facebook and technology and so on. Some of us might be a bit scared about this technology thing, saying it's evil technology and we should avoid all this and so on. But maybe we should think a bit like BP and think a bit more ahead. I just keep hearing people some now and then say, wow, we should go back to the spirit of Baden-Powell. Well, but I'm sorry to say, but the spirit of Baden-Powell was 100 years ahead of its time. So if we want to keep on his spirit, we need to think 100 years ahead of our time. So that's the truly scouting spirit in my view. So that movie, apparently it was the first, as you probably, I don't know if you managed to read it. It was the first movie done after scouting, but basically that's how scouts were seen. Probably a bit different from what scouts are now. Even because the times we are living is a bit different. About what is different? How did the world change? And a couple of months ago, I was doing some research for trying to convince my colleagues to review the World Youth Program policy that has already 20 years, since 1990. And I was trying to pick some things that how the world was in 1990. And you probably, some of you at least, know some of these objects. Maybe you saw them, others probably saw them in museums also. But basically, some of you may remember the first mobile phones. There were sort of bricks that we carry them on the street. Very proudly, of course, because we had a mobile phone. It was amazing. And if we want to hear some music, we had these devices here, which are a bit different from what we have now. Or if you want to look for some knowledge, we would have to go to see an encyclopedia, for example. And I was hearing a number of months ago that the British Encyclopedia, which apparently was a big thing before, they just decided not to have it more in paper. So basically all this knowledge that 4 or 5 people were doing, or 15, were writing in somewhere, suddenly doesn't exist anymore. The knowledge is different. The structure of the knowledge is different today. So this is 20 years ago. It's not exactly 200 years ago, right? So can we just recognize the fact that in 20 years this has changed quite a lot? And this is probably the landscape that we can see today, which is a bit different. As I was saying, the knowledge today, and please don't hit me because of the Wikipedia. I'm not saying that the knowledge in Wikipedia is brilliant. I'm just saying that the way of constructing the knowledge today is different because we are using the knowledge of each individual person or each individual entity, not necessarily 4 or 5 or 10 people which are the ones that have all the knowledge. So this counting on each individual contribution became something much more important now. And well, all these connections, all these devices, all these economic problems, all this mobility that we have now in between countries, within the same countries, which makes this kind of landscape also quite frequent. The fact that some of our societies, more than others, are very much multicultural. So it's not only about only the British or only the Portuguese or only the people from Hong Kong. It's a melting pot of different cultures, and we have to deal with this within scouting, of course. So this the landscape, social and economical, and all this have changed. And some of the things that if you look around, we just recently conducted a research on youth trends. I don't know, Anna Pasic will, or did, I'm not sure if he already did, run a session on this, on youth trends. We gathered a number of information to try to find youth trends today that might be helpful for us to define our own processes, strategic processes, and the review of the program policy. And some of the trends that she found, of course, some more global than national, because depending on the region and on the country, things will change. But these were some of the things that she came up to as the references that were more common. So, probably if you read them, it's not necessarily a big surprise. So unemployment, longer transitions from school to work, poverty, people are more educated nowadays, young people are more educated. Technology, of course, is one big thing, and one of the areas in which young people are really eager to go into and to study as well. Other alternative ways of political participation at large. So this idea that we participate by voting, for example, only, it's not exactly the thing that young people are attracted to. And they might be engaged only on small things, on very limited things, limited in time things. So it's a different way of participating that us, which are not that young anymore, are probably not that used. People are less religious, more availability to volunteer, of course more interaction online. One issue about the physical condition of people, which is interesting because we saw that in the UK of the 1900s, the fact that people are weak and so on. Today, it's not that they are weak, they are obese basically, which it's a different problem. So need of sexual education, the family structures are very different, so it's not only mother and father and children. Now it's all sorts of families. Yes, that's it. Forgot my English. And the growing mobility, the fact that it's much more easy for people to go from one place to the other. So this is some of the big global, as I say, trends that we may find. And this necessarily needs to impact what we do. You probably, if you are now making the link with your own realities, and you probably identify some of these things as some of the problems that you have there, or problems, situations that you have and that you have to deal with. And exactly to illustrate this, that's how we invited our friends here to tell us a bit more about how some of these things impacted, especially one of our educational method. I used to say that the Scout method is not only because it's our spirit, it's a specific way of us educating people, to make people to develop in a certain way. And of course, we have seen this picture a number of times, the 7 wonders of the Scout method. And here idea is that how all those trends that I have showed you before, how do they impact the totality or each of these elements? Of course, we know that these elements are not separate blocks, they are all interrelated. But how those trends affect this kind of elements? Having in mind that the method is definitely one of the things that make us unique when we compare ourselves to other educational movements or organizations. Okay, so to tell us about the learning by doing, I will invite Elena to share with us.
Yes, thank you, Joao. Hi, everybody. I took the learning by doing because, at least in Romania, we are doing a lot of things, and I think we don't stop at see what we are actually learning. And the leaders will say all the time that, okay, the scouts will find that what they have learned when they will get a job or go to the university, and they will have a great speech and they will organize everything. So we included in our trainings for leaders, for unit leaders, this Kolb circle, the experience learning that Kolb decided, and for all of us, I think we are actually doing it, but we don't know about it. And it is like this. It's the concrete, the experience, and it's actually the activity that they are doing it. I don't know, a camp, a hike, the law, when they get the scarf. And that moment is only the experience. If we are going forward, is the reflection when the leader just have the flow for the scouts to find out what they have learned. And it can be with some questions like, what happened? What happened with that experience? And they will find out what felt, but also what about about the activity, what exactly they have done. And then going outside, we will go to the generalization, so the abstract. Here it can be different concepts or different situations that are not really in scouting. Have you been in these situations in other ways? And they will say, okay, I have it in my projects at school, or when I speak with my friends and I have this situation, like, I don't know how to work in a patrol, but in real life it's a group or a team, or it's not the patrol, because this is similar to our organization, but still outside it's some teams. And they will find out that it's not only something that was taken in scouting, but they found it in different situations. And then the flow is going to, okay, you had that experience, you find out what happened, you saw that it's not only in that activity and you found it from the real life. What are you taking from that experience? And it will be, okay, I will be more efficient in my patrol, or I will take my responsibilities. And they will find out how they will apply what they have learned. And now we are training actually our leaders to go with this flow, not only to do activities, because yeah, we are finishing the activity and we don't stop to see what happened. We are running to another one. That's why this is new in Romanian association in our trainings for leaders. Yeah.
If you have any questions, please note them down. And after this presentation, we'll have the opportunity. Sorry, I need to repeat that for people to hear at home. If you have questions, please note them down, because we'll have the time after the presentations to answer some questions. Mari.
I would like to talk about patrol system. I believe that patrol system is one of the key elements in the scout method where you learn everything. Patrol system is a fundamental of whatever the scouting is, and the people, I mean the scouts, has their own role in the patrol, and that's where the small society is, and they will prepare themselves in the patrol to be a good citizen in the future. So I think it was then, I mean, in the 1970s, I mean, in the where the where the scouting started, it was like that. But I think it is still applicable in the modern age that patrol system is one of the key elements and very important part of the scout method. I would like to share with you some challenges we have with the patrol system in the Scout Association of Japan. Well, it's not only for the Scout Association of Japan, because I heard in some of the other NSOs, and it might not be applicable for any other regions, but well, in a particular case of Scout Association of Japan, we had about 320,000 membership about 10 or some years ago. But now we have a drop of membership, and we only have 120,000 right now. So I'm not talking about why and how we lost the membership, but regarding the, in relation with the patrol system, we have a difficulty of forming a patrol system in units because we have less, scouts in one unit. So sometimes we have less than 8. So ideally, as you all agree that patrol should have 6 or 8, scouts in one patrol, and 4 patrols in one unit consists like 32. But in some units, they have only less than 8 scouts. And then what do you think? What is the minimum, scout you should have in a unit? I mean, if you have 8, would you have 1 patrol in unit or 2 or 4 patrols in unit? So those are the things that we are facing, in Japan, and we still are struggling to seek the solution for that. But I think the patrol system is one of the key elements of the Scout method. So maybe you could give us some idea or hint how to solve those kind of problems. And I would like to show you other example about the lone scouts in South Australia. This is from their website, and we have representative Scouts Australia. So maybe later we can have them share the idea. How many of you heard about the lone scouting? It happens in Australia, and I'm sure it happened. Yeah, it happens in Boy Scouts of America. The idea of lone scouting started with the Scouts on the Air, I believe. That right, John? Scout on the Air was the original idea. Okay, so the lone scout is for the scout in the isolated, remote community where unit does not exist. For instance, like one scout in a lone desert, and when he or she would like to join the unit, they will have it. Well, long time ago they started with scouting on radio, I think. So what they do is have the unit meeting or the patrol meeting on the air. But nowadays, because of the virtual net society, they have their patrol meeting once a week through Skype, right? So I think this is a good example where we are heading into the virtual virtual world, and maybe in the near future, we will have something like an international patrol, one scout in Africa, and one scout in Japan, and one scout in Australia. And they might be able to form a patrol, or they might be able to form a unit. And I think this is one of the challenges that we are going to face maybe in the near future. So this is not what I'm giving you the new idea, but I think this will be a good hint or something that you might have to think about when you go into the social media and when you go into the net society and things like that. Okay.
This that Mari just raised connects with one of the trends that I've not shown here, but we know that it happens everywhere. The fact that we are getting more and more urbanized. I mean, the world, probably in your countries as well, the fact that people are moving to cities more and more, leaving people behind. And what we do with the people that stay behind. But there are other problems for the fact that people gather in big cities, because one of the elements of our method is nature, right? As we spoke in the morning. And the question might be, well, if we live in a city of, I don't know, 12 million citizens, how does it work in terms of, on a regular basis, to use environment? A bit related to this, we invited Effende to show us a bit in Singapore, how does it work on the urban scouting, which is a concept.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. No, it's okay. That's all right. I don't know whether you have been to Singapore or not. Who does you? Yeah? Well, you're most welcome to come. That's what I would say. Most of us are living in the city. That's for sure. About the year maybe 2030, 70% of the world population will move to the city. Now, the question is, the challenge here is that, can scouting remain to be relevant? Scouting started, associated with the environmental, associated with nature. We need to be close with nature. But then, if more and more people are moving to the city for a better quality of life, then how can scouting meet the needs of these people? For those who've been to Singapore, you find that it's indeed a concrete jungle. It's a small country, and some people call it a city. Yeah, because it's only about 700 square kilometer compared to Madagascar. It's just a tiny dot, too small. In fact, you can travel from one end to the other end under 2 hours. It's just about 70 kilometers. So it's a very, very small country, and it's very much urbanized in a sense that you find people living in the pigeonholes. When I say pigeonholes, is those flats, yeah. And therefore, how can we continue to provide avenues and means so that we can see to the needs of young people, bearing in mind that one of the fundamental elements of scouting is nature. So what we have done in Singapore is that it's not that we are forgetting the nature element or part of it, is that we played it down a little bit, because land in Singapore is very, very scarce. Forestries account to only about 7%. It's 87% of the country is all fully developed. Yeah, people living in the city. So how can we continue to arouse the interests of the young people? And therefore, we work with a lot of government agencies to identify what are some of the social issues when people live in the city. What are the things that we want them to observe? One of the important elements you want to observe is that how can you go about protecting nature, particularly in Singapore, where we don't have nature. More so, there's a need for us to conserve environment. And therefore, we have batch scheme that are devoted just for that. Yeah, energy conservation. Where's the one? Yeah, some of these badges, you notice that we have the civil defense force, because these are the issues that when people live in the city, they'll be confronted with. Yeah, and what else do we have? Right, these are some of the things. We have conservation of water. With Singapore in particular, we don't have a lot of rivers. Yeah, in fact, our water is being imported from our neighboring countries. So therefore, it becomes an increasing challenge for us to really conserve water. Therefore, we want our scout to understand what are the challenges associated with the country, so that we can continue to remain relevant. Okay, this is some of the activity. For example, the resource conservation. These are the water. The back one, the previous one, the back one. No, okay. Leave possibly you become a water ambassador. Yeah, you help to monitor the water consumption, for example. Yeah, okay. Next, this one is a drug abuse batch. Drug abuse. How do you prevent narcotic use? Yeah, because these are when people in the city. Some of the challenges will be violence, crime, drugs, diseases, and so we do have all this sort of scheme that we develop, right, to meet the challenges of people living in the cities. Yep, that's it. Yeah, public health. Yeah. Okay.
Our guests are very disciplined. I told them that it was only 5 minutes, and maybe they are afraid of me or something. Yes, Peter? Yeah. It's interesting, this idea of the urban jungle, right? Because one of the values of nature in our method is the fact that it's an environment which confronts young people, and in front of the different challenges in nature, young people can, to overcome the challenge they need to develop. So here is a different jungle, let's say. Yes, Mary Nugent. I'm glad you joined us again. Do you want to share something with us?
Okay, I'm from Ireland, and in Ireland, sorry? Okay, we're very specific. We have to be very specific. So I wanted to share with you a couple of things that we have done in relation to a change in trends and how it affects our personal progressive scheme. And this is something that we have recently developed. It's a small brochure that we have recently developed to give to parents. And we have noticed, obviously, over the years, as in many countries, that family life has changed for people living in Ireland. You know, there are less weddings, there are many more divorces, people are getting married later, they're having children later, they're having much fewer children. So the relationship between parents and children has changed because of that, and also because of perhaps the time that people spend working now, and just a different situation all over. And so, as I say, the relationship with young people and their parents is very different, certainly in Ireland, than it was 15, 20, 30 years ago. And in Scouting, we haven't in the past taken the time to engage with parents on anything we do in relation to their children. We expect them sometimes to drive their children places, we expect them to fundraise for us, we expect different things like that for them, but we have never previously engaged with them in any serious way in what it is we're trying to do in the line of personal progression for their young people. And so this is a small brochure that we've developed, and it's all based around a camp, whether it's a group camp or a patrol camp or what it is. And it goes through the idea of the aim of Scouting, the objectives that we hope to achieve within the personal progressive scheme. It talks about the spices, and then it talks a little bit about how the young people... Sorry, our personal progressive scheme is based on the elements of growth, spiritual, social, cultural, physical, intellectual, and emotional, which, if you say them in the right order and use the first letter, becomes the spices. We call them the spices. So that's how that they are from the aim of our association. They contribute to the rounded development of the individual, and at each level throughout our association, the challenges grow, I suppose, and the young people set themselves more challenging tasks in order to help them achieve the growth. So in the brochure we explain a little bit to the parents that this is the aim of what we're doing, and that we do it through the activities that happen on camp. We do it by the participation of the young people in the planning of the activity, in the living together on the camp, in the teamwork that's created through the activity, or that the activities work through, and also in the review of the activity. So that's how they achieve the progression, and this is a small way that we have decided to engage directly with parents so that they know a little bit more about what's expected from their young people, and also of what they can expect to see a difference in their young people as they progress through the Scout movement. The other thing that we've done also in relation to personal progression, and it's not complete and I don't have anything to show you, but we've reacted to the technical advances, I suppose you would say, and that we have developed an app. We won't say that again. But alongside the personal progression, which is built on our spices, we have 9 core adventure skills, which we say are the skills that allow us to do our scouting safely and be more progressive in the activities that we have, because we have learned to be safe and more skillful in core scouting skills. And so we're in the process of developing an app that helps the individual young person, whether they're in Scouts or outside Scouts, to identify the different requirements at the different stages of each of the development, or for each of the skills, and to self-assess, really, to recognize what they need to know and to recognize whether or not they do know these things, and then to advertise with their friends or on Facebook or whatever that they have reached this next stage in. So it's obviously interactive. Somebody monitors it, and but they're now responsible for their own learning in those skills to a great extent, and they can move themselves along. So they're just 2 things that we're doing currently in order to recognize that things have changed, times have changed, and we're still very much supporting the young person's personal progression as part of the Scout method, but we're doing it in different ways. Okay.
Thank you, Mary. Okay, now is the time to, if you have any questions or if you want to share any of your experiences as well, presume that in some of your associations you might have think about these things and you would like to share that. It would be wonderful if you would like to have that. The only thing is that you need to come here and sit in one of these green crosses. Yes.
Good afternoon. My name is Andreas. I represent the Scouts of Azerbaijan, but I was a scout in Europe for many years before I moved to Azerbaijan. Now, thank you for this excellent opportunity to discuss past and future of scouting, but you know, we need, I think, to set the scene in a different approach. So firstly, we need to understand, when we discuss about Baden Powell, okay, this excellent person who is not with us today and he cannot defend himself, really what was his first approach? And his first approach is to fix a non-formal educational base to create leaders for the British Empire. Okay, and we saw that he improved that excellently if you go and see the impact of these scouts as adults in the colonial British Empire of the 90s to the 1960s or 70s in some countries. Now that was his first aim, and then he created this just for British. But then this expanded and expanded overseas, first to France and then to other nations, because it was an excellent idea. So he changed his approach after 1918. Why? Because he was recalled to his military duties. And recalled to the military duties, he saw what happened in the Western Front. And I don't know how many of you know that after that, he asked as a chief scout of England to put the photos of all the leaders that were killed in the scout quarters, so young people can see their leaders that had perished in the Western Front and other fronts of that furious war. So that was a very important very important moment in his life, because then he changed the orientation. So we need to understand that scouting, okay, is not a training system. It's an educational system. And it's a political system. And the political condition of scouting has a very large element in diversity, in how people can understand, cooperate, live together, showing, okay, what is common in all civilizations. And what is common in all civilization, cultures, languages, is the scout promise and the scout law. Now this is a very important issue to understand, because if we don't understand that, then we'll go to this excellent discussion that was delivered today, okay? Excellent discussion, excellent speaker, wrong audience. Because that was a seminar for management, okay? And we don't have a product. And what we need to understand is human nature changing from the Homo sapiens until today? Is human nature really changing? If we go back and see history or medicine, I can tell you as a professor of medicine, no, it's not changing. We have the same issues that we had from the first time we were here. We have polished some kind of behaviors, but only polished. And this is why we still have conflicts and all the problems that was discussed over there. So I think that when we are discussing scouting, we need to come back and see some fundamental issues and describe and understand the difference between education and training. We are not training because the knowledge scouting gives to the person is to build skills and abilities. The other part of knowledge that you use for occupational and everyday conditions mostly, okay, is combined with the knowledge that school gives you and other kind of educational modules. But behavior, that's the core of scouting. And I believe that we must focus on that. We must see our leadership as a leadership of people that have a good willing to improve life, to find ways to solve in peace conflicts around the world. We must see that what we are creating here is a brotherhood. And that's a word that we every day forget. All of us are brothers and sisters. But we are now friends, colleagues, okay, representatives of nations. No. If you go back to the fundamental part of the symbolic framework, and you go to there where Mowgli, okay, brings the body of Sirhan and puts it in front, okay, of the fire of the wolves, he says something very important that we have forgot. That you guys, the wolves, and I, the human, we are for the same blood. The same blood is the scout spirit. And we mustn't forget that. I think our strength as an organization is that we are a brotherhood. And we need to use that as a political view for future, and I believe that Messages of Peace is an excellent tool for that. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm good with this. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I think we have evolved a bit from the initial training scheme that was there for the education now. Actually, our cause is not training for life, it's education for life. So I think our awareness was a bit educated as well. Thank you. And I have a question that came, but of course, let's first have you. So I have Raza, I have you as well. You need to come here. Sorry.
Thank you very much. My name is Sander, International Commissioner for Madagascar. It's not really a question what I'm going to say, but just reflections. For Madagascar, now we are really busy for reactualizing our program, youth program. Because we have to have three kinds of people in Madagascar. We have a chance, we have really a big chance to still have a nature compared to Singapore. And so every Saturday, when the kids, when the scouts are meeting, we have a chance to be in contact with nature. But where we are struggling to restructure is because more people is going to get on the rural area, on the urban area, and more on the social network, and more it's not the needs of the kids actually. So we need to restructure, and so we are trying to see the best way between the old fashions, if I can say that, and the actual one. So for me, it's not a question, but a ask and answers, because it's taking a long time to build a program. If you can just give some program, if you can give program from your country, that we can more or less take inspiration for the urban area. This is the first things. The second thing is if you are looking for urban rural area things really with nature, next year we are going to celebrate our 90th anniversary. So you are most welcome. Thank you very much.
I'm going to take him and then you, and then if you don't mind, we just move ahead, and then we can have another session of questions or comments.
Good afternoon. I'm Håvard. I'm the International Commissioner for Norway, and just want to comment on you, Marie, because you shared your experience with some challenges with the pastoral system, and I would say I think we can identify the same challenges in Norway as well. But saying that, we also experience that we have tried to focus on what are the similarities with the groups who are experiencing growth. And one quite clear common thing that all the groups had, that they were using the pastoral system. So, and myself, I've been a troop leader some years ago, and we tried to do scouting without the pastoral system. It worked half a year, but then it collapsed. So I'm saying just stick to the pastoral system, and I believe, as you also said, that that's some of the fundamentals that we can keep on. But of course, there are some challenges when the units are small, when we're less than 8, maybe we're less than 15. There's some challenges within the system, but just keep on the good work. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hello, I'm Amos, International Commissioner of the Israeli Boy and Girl Scout Federation. regarding the urban issue. So we in Israel, we have something like 100,000 scouts, a very tiny country. They are spread all over the country in 180 local tribes. All of them are in cities, villages, not in the nature. We have a seashore, so we have some sea scout. But the idea is that the 2 days of activities, in the middle of the week and in the weekend, they have their activities in a local tribe, which can be either a school or a special house for the scouts. And even there, we can have all activities, educational, and learning how to do the notes, and all the things that are related to scouts, talking about according to the program, of course. And then this doesn't mean that we're not going on hikes and trips and camps, because we have also some woods in Israel. So it is possible and it's wonderful, because they leave Tel Aviv, for example, and Yuda here, my colleague, is sitting here, and there are something like 19 tribes, 9,000 scouts scattered all over Tel Aviv. It's a big city in Israeli terms, and they are all located in parks or schools, or and they have and Sea Scout, because it's near the sea, and they have wonderful activities there. So it is possible, and it's definitely not contradictory to the ideas and the practice of scouts. Israeli Scouts started 94 years ago in a school. So also there, it started already in a school. Another point related to you about brotherhood and messenger of peace. When we say Israel, people say, oh boy, this area of conflicts, right? So I invite all of you. I'm giving at 5 o'clock a seminar about messengers of peace in Israel, and how using the Scout tool really, like you said, and I'm coming from the same field that you're coming in my professional life, how scouts can really, using the tools of scouts, can really solve problems among different populations. And in Israel we have various populations, as you all know. And if only politicians or leaders in our region would take example from the kids, believe me, when we say Israel next time, you'd say, oh, this is a place of peace. Anyway, it's heaven, so it's okay.
Thank you very much. So we have, just before another, just small input, we have 2 questions here. One of them asks, will scouting be changing people and social environment, or society will be changing our scouting? That means who changes what? The question is not aimed to anyone in particular, so I will try to give my opinion, which basically I think it will be both ways, basically. I think we live in a system, and we all influence each other. And on the same way, of course, we want to have an impact. We want scouting to have an impact outside, which means that we need to keep some of our actions and fundamentals, some of the things we believe on. And by doing this, we believe that we are able to transform things in the world. I mean, people and the things and the rest of the things. But I also believe that we are, because we are, I mean, scouting is about people. And if people are impacted by society, of course, scouting will be impacted by that as well. And the other question is about if youngsters prefer technology instead of nature, can we say technology affects scouting negatively? And what kind of precaution can we take to stop the effect? Well, I think the answer to this is a bit the phrase that Baden Powell was saying about the movies. I don't think we should see it as a big threat. I think we should find ways to surf the wave. That means, how can we use this in our own benefit? I think that's, I'm not saying that it is very easy and we'll have this solution tomorrow. Also because all this technology is a bit new for us as well. We're still seeing what is the scope, what are the possibilities. So it's a way, it's something that is coming along. But I would say that I don't see it as a danger. Of course, you all have experienced or heard about stories in which we go to a camp and everyone, or every cub takes his own mobile, and then he just keeps mobile on this here almost during the entire time, and how this affects the this focus on the activity. But that's part of the path of the trail that you are having now with technology. I think I'm not sure if we will reach a stable state, but it's on a way. So I don't see it as an enemy. Actually, I think we should use it in the best possible way. Okay, just before I just lost the device. Just before, because we heard some feedback that the participants in the Congress were a bit, how can I say that? Sad, let's say, because they didn't, not sad, no, not annoyed. Well, they would like to have more time to discuss, because they think that when they go to sessions, the facilitators want to look so good that they start speaking and they never shut up. So now we want to give you some time for you to discuss and share a bit more. But just before you do that, I'm just going to show you something that I really like. When we came to the World Committee 2 years ago, we had this lady in one of our first meetings, a Danish lady, which is I think it's a profession. It's called futurist. So the idea is that she grabs the signs around us and try to find the way forward. And so Annelies Kayer, you can find her on Facebook and websites and whatever you want. And she built what she called an atlas of trends, which I always find a bit interesting. And she organized that in 4 different areas. I'm just going to highlight some of the things that might be interesting for us as an organization or as a movement. One of them is that when she says that people will be looking very much in the future on meaningful experiences. So really, people are not don't want anymore to go and just for the sake of going. They are really looking for meaningful experiences. And to be honest, I think we are very well, we as a movement are very well placed to offer meaningful experiences to people, both young people or not so young people, let's say. So I would say that if we look into the future, if that really happens, we might be on the front line of this movement, let's say. Another idea she has is that people, that there is a growing number of people really caring about to build a better world. And I don't think I need to say anything else about this, I suppose. So better world is definitely something that we have been speaking about for a number of years. Other thing is that the organizations themselves are transforming. So that it's not only the fact the organizations have a boss and the deputy boss and the deputy that has only as a main concern to deliver, but that inside each organization we care more about each other, about the well-being of the people, how they feel, because as we heard in the morning as well, that also contributes for the fact that they will produce more, they will be more happy, and so on. So that's probably will bring some impact for our own organizations and our organization as a global. So it's not about hierarchy. Maybe we need to try to shift our mindset and say that we need to care a bit more about each other. Another interesting thing, which I mentioned briefly before, when I mentioned the tribes, she speaks about the patchwork tribes, the fact that we are more and more mixed with each other, and it's very difficult to find one common idea of what is good or what is less good. One thing that might be very good for me, for Ralph, for example, the very good is a bit different. So that means that we have, even in our societies, we have different subgroups with different aims. And instead of struggling to find one thing that is common to all, maybe we need to try to balance those to articulate better those different aims that different tribes have. And one particular interesting thing is the fact that she speaks about the female engagement. For her, and the fact that in the future women will have a much bigger role in society. And I suppose that in some of your societies you already see that. And if you look around in our organizations, do we see that? Not sure. Well, in some organizations, yeah, national organizations, I know, yes. There are more even, and they're not talking about the Guide Association. There are more women than men, but if you look at our organization, world organization, not that much. So maybe we need to take care of that in the future as well. And of course, the always on, this idea that even the young people, they're always on and always connected. So how can we engage all the senses, as Chris was saying in the morning, in a camp, in an activity, without having them speaking with this, speaking with that. So this, if you want to, if you have the curiosity to follow it, it's interesting to see some of these trends that Annelies mentioned. Okay, now I'm going to shut up and maybe ask you, invite you, if you to a brief moment to discuss a bit in groups. It's not very normal on a panel, but we want to make our customers pleased. So we are providing you this time for you to discuss a bit, to exchange a bit on your experiences. And I would invite you maybe to divide just in groups of 4 groups, maybe just divide in half, no big deal. The only thing that I would like to ask one of the groups to meet here. That would allow the people at home to follow the discussion, if you're not too shy to do that. Is that okay? Right? Maybe this group here, which is more close to us, bring their own chairs and meet here for the camera. No, the idea is, sorry. The idea is, after all we have heard now, are you convinced that there is something that is not relevant anymore in the way we are educating people? And if there is something particularly important from the trends we have heard that we need to pay more attention? And what kind of message do we want for the future? Because in the spirit of this event, the idea is that should we, in scouting, explore more this aspect or that aspect? What should we start including that we are not including so far, etc. So the idea is that what to keep or what to drop and what to add. If there's something that is going around us that we are just blind to it so far and we need to include more. So these are the main questions that we would love you to discuss. And at the end, just to present a bit of your conclusions. Is that clear? Okay. Thank you very much. Bring your chairs here, one of these groups. Yeah.
The formula, the evaluation.
No, I forgot. Can you go up? Thanks.
You have to keep within a gray zone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Better to keep.
And you can even keep one of the microphones.
And also you have to use a microphone. Yeah.
Peter.
Yes. Oh, not so close. Okay, I will just talk like this. Okay, I think it's a very interesting question, this, and I would say that in our association we are currently focusing on writing a new vision for our work. And of course, these questions are quite relevant for that, what to keep and what to add. And one of the things that, yes, of course, I'm from Denmark. I'm from the YMCA Scouts in Denmark, so one of the associations in our country. We have several. And I think the thing is that what it shows so far is that we are going to put one of the overall headlines will be engage in society, will be a very strong part of that vision, because we have had probably a tendency to close ourselves a bit around our own scouting circles. So now we want to go out there and make a difference in the society. So, and how? Yeah, that's a good question. How do you translate a vision into concrete strategic aim? One of the things that I would like to see is that engaging in society is to reach out to those groups in society that we don't have as members at the moment. Because this, at least in Denmark, we have this. I think it's also counts for the other systems that our members doesn't reflect the total society. We have this middle class, white boys and girls, but for example, ethnic minorities. I think it's a place where we could work much more and include them in our work. How to do it, I don't want to go into details about that now. And another place could be, we see increasingly, let's say, kids with these behavioral diagnoses and how to include them and make room for kids that has these kind of problems in our work. So it's related to this open to all questions.
You're adding to the traditional scout in Denmark, or you're adding a new dimension, right? New horizons or new missions that are fit more to what's going on in Denmark these days. I see.
Yes. And I just one thing, then you other can talk a bit more. But I think then this also, when you create a new vision and you want to focus on one thing, that of course also means that you have to take something out that you don't. Because I think also what we have had a tendency to really.
Take the microphone out. Continue. Because continue in the other group, so they will see you, but they will not hear you. That's fine. You can do the sort of. Now they are saying this. They are saying.
We are testing a system. We are testing a system. We are testing a system.
Testing. Testing.
Yeah, testing. This column is enough.
Let's try it.
I think that this exercise can be very tricky if we start mixing up elements, if we start making things up without having the whole picture or taking it out. Of course, the service is important, but the service is already included in the Scout method. Maybe you don't have a round ball saying service, but if you go to our constitution, you will see service is an element. So it's already there. It's already in our principle. So how are we going to face this exercise? Maybe Adif can help us, since he was part of this panel too.
Well, it's just a guideline. It's not cast in stone. No, what was presented is just an approach. Yeah, and what we did was we take the existing material that we have. If you have read the essential characteristic of scouting, the document, right, where there's some rethinking about how can we expand the scout methods. Previously there's only 4, you remember that. Yeah, then we expand it without changing the main core essentials. Yeah, that's all. But it's how you interpret, how you expand it. Yeah, and therefore it became 7 eventually. That's understood, and that all these 4 are all interlinked, and that's why you find that we put it all and just for the purpose of to start the ball or thinking and whether it is still relevant. Basically just that, right? So to me, there's no right or wrong answers. It just you all depends on your own country situation. But fundamentally, whatever we do, this is my personal belief, that we don't change the core values. The core values do not change. Whatever you do, you are being guided by the core values. But the methods can change whatever it is.
First of all, I would.
I'm Jakob from one of the other Danish Scout associations. I actually think we should keep the Scout method. We might revise a few things, but I think basically it works. So let's keep that. And what we should add is sometimes better use of the world we are living in today. I think we could get more advantage of actually using Facebook for communication with our scouts to get them to come, of course, first when they are allowed on Facebook. But the troop scouts and rover scouts and things like that, they could benefit from being invited by the media there on 100 times every day. So I think we should add that and keep the method.
Just to agree with you that what is the main purpose of this discussion is a bit unclear, at least just to add a comment on the Scout method. In Norway, I think we were really glad that WSEC introduced the Scout method and trying to just put words on the things that we say, this is scouting. But actually when we added the Scout method in the training schemes for all our leaders, we added an 8th element, and it was actually what you were saying. We said that the Scout method is 8 things, and we added social responsibility or the service point as one of the parts of the Scout method. And that might be, from a Norwegian perspective, probably the same in Denmark, that we are from parts of the world where the state or the social support within the country is really good. So some other parts in other parts of scouting globally, scouts are doing the service part, which the Norwegian state are providing for the youth. So the service part in Norwegian scouting hasn't been the focus because others have been doing that. But we want to focus on the service part as well. So we added that to the Norwegian variant of the Scout method. So actually, then we add, yeah, it's already in there, but we had to focus on it to implement it. Because then, for example, nature will be one of the things that many will focus on, and nature only. So
I'll try. My name is Andreas. I represent Azerbaijan. I will try now to give my personal view on the 2 questions. What do we keep? What do we add? Yeah. Okay. So first of all, I would like to start and say that in our trainings, okay, we define scouting as an organization that was founded by Baden-Powell, but after him, many other people among today us, and before us many others, okay, tried to shape and make his view, okay, to be understanding and be evolving from the first presentation of it until today. So yes, if you go back and you see the program of Brownsea Island Camp, you would see that he has 5 of the 7 elements. Now, if our brothers from Norway want to have an 8th element on that, and that is social, yes, responsibility and service, okay, you can always find different ways to pack up your pack and put everything in of these elements in a different space, because you can put that back in the core values, you can put it in learning by doing, you can put it by personal development. So to cut a long story short, what we need to understand is, first we need to define a couple of very important endpoints. Scouting for everyone, and if it's for every child, this is for every adult. This goes back to spirituality and most our fundamental principles regarding most faith in God. So I think that what we need to understand is that Scout law is derived from very persistent core values. It's not a selection from humanitarian philosophy. It can be found there. Now, the other thing that we really need to understand is that when BP spoke about environment, Greenpeace was not there. But today, Greenpeace does more than what we do for the environment. And not only Greenpeace, another 1,000 non-governmental organizations, some of them for also profit. So we need to understand that we will share parts of our method in other organizations. They will take, and we will also be influenced of some of their activities that we can add in the personal development. This is being open to society. So I believe that Scouting, from its founding time until today, was open to society, took and brought in the Scout Corps, or from the Scout Corps to society, different ideas, but kept the method as this was changing to add other conditions for special societies, special needs in different societies, okay? And what we need to remember is we need to keep the principles of the method, we need to keep the core values of that, we need to find a way to preserve a part of the symbolic framework. We didn't discuss the symbolic framework. I believe it's very important, okay, in our organization. And finally, what to add? Okay, I think that we are going now up to a position
to wrap it up,
okay,
please?
that peace, diversity, and cooperation between nations is very important. So we need to focus that the new mission of Scouting, okay, will be mostly to bring humankind together. Now, in 1939, BP was a candidate for the Nobel Prize, okay, of Peace. But this Nobel Prize was not given then because Second World War broke out. I think that we need to focus that Scouting is an organization with political views for any issue regarding human elements and focusing on peace. Thank you.
When the patrol system, well, we learn about the patrol system as being have certain kind of specific connotation, in the sense that when you have a patrol, meaning you have a patrol leader, and then it's sort of a liner from up, top down. And when the essential characteristic document was published, you find that we refocus it on more on the team concept. I don't know whether you realize that or not. Yeah, that everybody can become a leader. Yeah, and that's the fundamental change. You will find that, because by virtue of the fact, if you have a patrol, then you have a leader, you have a patrol second, and then so on and so forth. So a kind of a hierarchy, a vertical hierarchy. Yeah, but in the new concept, you find that the focus is more on, yes, sure, the patrol, but the patrol as a team. Yeah, yeah, and correct. I mean, it's not so much on the power, but the emphasis is more on working together as a team. Yeah, that everybody needs each other. Yeah, there's some motivation to that concept of a patrol system, somewhat.
Dr. Mohammed, it was just a comment on the last thing you said. It's also a trend in what John May said in the last session, that the trends in the youth of today, the generation today are very focused on, not on myself, but on myself in cooperation with others. The team spirit is really, really high. So I would say that a patrol, the most important thing in the patrol today is not the patrol leader, but at least in Norway, it's a team working together. But they has to have one leader or so. But no, the system is not the most important thing actually. It's how we engaged with each other in a group. Yeah. So it's a follow-up.
That's a final thought. If I hear, for example, in your case in Japan, you're saying, okay, we have troops of only 8. Are we still having patrols, or should we do something else? I don't know. I think we have to go a bit further and see why we only have units of 8. I don't think that the problem lies within if we have patrols. Yes, and I think the problem is more behind. Maybe the activities are wrong, or something else is wrong, not the method itself. And I just wanted to quote that this was said by Baden-Powell, or written by him, and this can be a clue in some way when he wrote back then in his days. Scouting is a medicine composed of various ingredients, and unless they are mixed in their proper proportion according to the prescription, the patient must not blame the doctor if the effects are unsatisfactory. I don't believe that the method has to be changed, to be honest. Baden-Powell never referred to Facebook. Of course, it didn't exist by then. But he never said, if something new came up in the future, don't use it. So let's keep that in mind. And yeah.
Can I just then, yeah. Okay. We're deeply sorry that we had to interrupt you, and I really encourage you to continue your exchange afterwards, during coffee break or afterwards. But I'm sorry for that. Just before asking you to share with us a bit what we have discussed, just to share with you that we have 3 comments here. One interesting, that when Mary was talking about the spices, there is a comment here from Lescout. Oh, not Lescout, sorry. The Canadian French-speaking Association. Yeah, that's it. Saying that they have translated the spices by Picasso, which means they take some letters from physique, intellectuel, caractère, affectif, spirituel, et social. They take some of the letters and they build the Picasso thing. Of the spices, exactly. And there is another comment from Canada as well, from Claude. And what he says, what we probably need to drop first is not even related to the method, but rather with the ways of doing things in front of the society. We very often have a tendency to stay hooked to traditions that make us look like sectarian and even weird mystics at times. Okay. And then we have another comment from Vasya. I'm not sure if I can say the second name. Sorry? Yeah, I think that's it. Yeah, exactly. It was arranged. Okay, okay. So first of all, saying that the session seems very interesting, and then in my opinion, in this decade of big changes, our method is more seasonable than ever. All 7 elements equally can be adjusted in our program. Technology should be used to our profit to succeed using the method. Of course, the world goes on, so we should move on new ideas to carry out the program so it can be more accessible to youth. Okay, thank you for those who are following us, 11 people that are following us online. And now I would ask you to, if you could share with us the discussions we had. Of course, it was a very short time, but next time we'll have 3 hours. Who wants to start? Needs to come here? Don't be shy.
So the rest of my group is behind me making applause, like you can see. So we start with a reflection about the life learning process among adults. And the first idea of Luxembourg, for example, they were sharing, they started with short activities during the week, and then they realized they were losing participants. So they evaluated and they decided to make the training not longer than before, not so short during the week, but in somewhere in between. So 1 day activities, training 1 day, so gathering everyone together and exchange much possible among people, promote the exchange and promote some dynamics among people, and ensuring also they will make part of the event. And then also some from Canada, they were also reviewing the program, and one thing is reinforcing the Scout method, so to be sure that they were keeping on track and engaging the people, because sometimes we've got lazy and we forgot the meaningful and the things that bring us here. So to be and to answer the questions, if we are addressing the needs, it's the program should be address the needs, because we start from the problems. Another thing, one problem is identified by Israel. It's also the youth now today. They want to change every 2 minutes, and not every 2 hours, but every 2 minutes. So the time runs away very fast. So it's something that we should keep in mind and try to understand why this is happening. Another sharing from Sweden about to promote the self-reflection among youth, and to keep them to help each other in order to grow up. So the project, it's also they promote an independent project. The youth among 16 years old, I guess, if I'm saying something wrong. They go for a hike during a day, and then they reflect also if they are in a good track or if they would like to make something different. So they have also some projects inside the patrol and not with the unit. And they also have another figure. It's a mentor. So it's a person that can go together with them and also help the young people to become a better adult, better human being. So then, just let me. And here it's again just to promote the self-consciousness from the lower level. Also among the Cub Scouts, they have also some examples about it. In Mexico, for example, they identified some problems, because when they figure more problems among the society, usually the adults, they don't want to be there and to promote scouting among those people. So they are trying to fight that problem in society. Also, the scouts are promoting some projects also to give support to the others among the community, and not only inside scouting. So opening the scouting to the society and promoting projects together. And now to finalize, I think regarding the urban issues, also we could also to adapt some games to the different environments, and using our imagination and creativity. So keeping the spirit, but using the same game in a different environment. So, like for instance, not playing in the city, but playing with the city. So, and for the final comment, also we could also see another kind of things, like to promote virtual games online. Now we don't have to wait anymore for the Saturday afternoon to have our scout meeting or something. We can have the scouts. We can make scouting during all the day. During even now with the world all connected, we are making scouts in the different parts of the world in the different parts of the day, and we can also left the discussion if this is scouting or not. So I think it's okay.
Wow.
That was a big discussion. Next one. Come on. Thank you, Alex. You saved us.
My name is Alex. I'm from Austria. I was in this group over there in that corner. And actually, I will be a bit shorter. Summing it actually up is that one of the key elements that the friends from Hong Kong said actually, that for them it's, because they're living in Hong Kong, as we're here, we see it's a city, for them the connection to nature is something they would definitely keep or even add more to what they are doing at the moment. And the other topic that we actually discussed was about how it can apply new technology. Every one of our youth members mostly has iPhone, Samsung, whatever, and they post things. So why not adding something to our methods using a guideline, a toolbook, how we can apply IT during our camps, because, well, I have the same policy. If we are going for a scout camp, your phone stays home. Maybe reviewing this is like, okay, use it, but we teach you, or we educate you how to use it, and then you can actually promote scouting for us by posting these pictures on Facebook, and your friends, and most of your friends on Facebook, they're not scouts, see that and think, hey, scouting is something cool. So we have two elements. Responsibly using Facebook or personal networks, but at the same time with an educational method behind it, promoting one of our core values, connection to nature.
Thank you. Related to this, maybe some of you already seen the UK Scouts have developed recently some apps which related to scouting, which might be, if you have an interest, might be interesting to see. Another group? There were 4, right? But you cannot speak more than 2 minutes.
So we had a very boring discussion because all of us have the same opinion, and the opinion is we keep the method, we keep the values, we keep the mission statement, and what we do is modernize elements of means in the Scout method to come up and give solutions to different societies in different countries. So we are probably discussing keeping most of the core of the Scouting as it was, and we are looking at future with the challenges that the young people have, and we are trying to find ways, okay, to give them solutions for a better and a happy life.
That was excellent. Very well done. Less than a minute. Next time I'll call you to summarize. This corner here. Come on. So polite. You go. No, you go. If you want, we can ask Andrea again to show your presentation.
Okay, I come from the group over here. So after some discussion to the question, what do we keep? So we had a hard time to come to a conclusive agreement because, for example, one of our members asked whether we should drop our scout promise. Yeah, so because is it still relevant? So some of our members think so, and some they do not agree. But there is a problem in coming to understanding because different parts of the world have different cultures and religious views. For example, in Europe and in Asia, European countries are more open-minded, but in Asia we are still very conservative. Maybe in religious views and cultures. So, for example, if you say you have your own belief, some might not believe in God, but in Asian countries, they might not be able to accept that. So it's very difficult to come to an understanding. So I think the most important thing is we should organize and do according to the fundamentals of scouting as we used to before. But we change it according to the conditions and environment in our country. And to the question, what do we add? This is easier because we can add environment awareness, and also we can use technology, as was told before. We can use technology to our advantage. And one of the most wonderful technology that has helped scouting is Facebook. Yeah, because of Facebook, yeah, we have made so many friends, and now Facebook is promoting the World Scout Education Congress for us all over the world. Even my friends who are not scouts, they are, oh wow, Scout is so wonderful. So that is something that we should add. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, thank you for these inputs. I hope that Marina was able to capture that. If not, she will chase you for be sure of that. We have, of course, gone over the time, obviously. I would like to thank you your presence here. I'm sorry, Peter. But before you go, two things. First, one announcement. The international market, which is between 6:30 and 7:30, is the time for you to share if you brought your foods and costumes and materials and all this, right? Because international evening, we call it international, but it's more Hong Kong organized, so we are not expected you to, I mean, you can go dress on your national costumes, that's fine, to dinner, but it's not the place where, so please don't eat too much on the international market because you'll have dinner afterwards and the international evening, okay? So that's the first announcement. The second thing is to ask you please to fill the evaluation, and we wish you the rest of a good Congress and good afternoon. And thank you for coming us. Thank you.